Why should I not tell my aunt or cousin about my return? Something doesn't look good here.
Come home. Don't tell your aunt or cousin. That message came in at 5:58 a.m. while I was sitting on a sunlit balcony in Gulf Shores, Alabama, watching my Aunt Delia laugh for the first time in years at something my cousin Marcus had said. The air smelled like salt and coffee. The ocean looked calm. My chest did not. Unknown number. No name. 8 words that turned my blood cold. Before I go any further, I want to pause for a second. If you're watching this, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. I always read them, and it reminds me that none of us are really alone in our stories. Now, let me tell you what happened. 12 hours after that text, I was stepping off a plane at Pittsburgh International Airport. A man in a charcoal suit stood near baggage claim holding a small white card with my name printed in clean black letters. Beside him were 2 Pennsylvania state police officers, calm, still, watching me like they were waiting for something fragile to either shatter or stand. I don't remember what they showed me first in that conference room. I remember beige walls, fluorescent lights buzzing. I remember the air thinning as the man in the suit began to speak. And then I remember the floor rushing up to meet me. When I woke up, a paramedic was kneeling beside me, asking me to count backward from 10. That was 4 months ago. I still don't sleep through the night. My name is Naomi Carter. I'm 32 years old, and this is the story of how my own father and sister tried to erase me, and how my grandmother made sure they couldn't. Let me take you back to a cold October night in Cranberry Township, just outside Pittsburgh. I was 10 years old. It was October 22nd. I remember because I had a permission slip in my backpack for a field trip to the Carnegie Science Center. I needed a signature and $4. That was it. A signature and $4. My father, Leonard Carter, was standing in the kitchen when I walked in. He had the cordless phone pressed to his ear. It's done. She won't be a problem anymore. I didn't know he was talking about me. He hung up and looked at me like I was something that had overstayed its welcome. "Pack a bag," he said. I smiled. "For the field trip?" "For tonight." My older sister, Camille, stood halfway up the stairs, 13 years old, arms crossed, watching like this was a scene she'd already rehearsed in her head. The front door opened. October wind spilled in. He handed me a black trash bag. "Go stay with your grandmother. Don't come back." No coat, no explanation, no $4. Just a trash bag and a porch light flickering above my head. I walked 2.5 miles to my grandmother Evelyn's house on Maplewood Drive. The bag tore before I reached the main road. My math workbook slid into wet leaves. My sneakers were thin, and by the time I reached her porch, my toes were numb. When she opened the door and saw me standing there, she didn't ask what happened. She pulled me inside, wrapped a quilt around my shoulders. "You're safe here," she said. That was the last time anyone in my immediate family chose me. Grandma Evelyn lived in a small brick ranch house with creaky floors and a porch swing that groaned in the summer heat. She had been a librarian for nearly 40 years and believed books could fix almost anything. She braided my hair before school, sat with me through homework, made grilled cheese sandwiches cut into perfect triangles. My father never called. Camille never wrote. It was like I had been deleted. Once, when I was 12 and crying because a teacher asked why my dad didn't show up for conferences, Grandma said, "Some people mistake control for love. Don't let that confuse you." I didn't understand then. I do now. There were things I noticed growing up in that house. A woman in a navy pantsuit who visited every few months. They would sit in the den with the door closed. Papers would slide across the desk. Low voices, serious tones. When I asked who she was, Grandma said, "An old colleague helping me with paperwork." I didn't push. When I was 18, 3 weeks before I left for Temple University, Grandma died in her sleep. Heart failure. Peaceful, they said. The funeral was small. And then my father walked in. I hadn't seen him in 8 years. Camille walked beside him, polished, composed. After the service, Camille leaned close and whispered, Dad says Grandma left everything to him. You don't need to worry." Then she smiled. In the parking lot, the woman in the navy pantsuit approached me. "Naomi Carter?" she asked. "Yes." "My name is Judith Halpern. I was your grandmother's attorney." She handed me a cream-colored envelope sealed with blue wax. "She asked me to give you this when the time is right. It's not time yet." I didn't open it. I put it away and built a life instead. College was scholarships and double shifts. I studied software engineering. I moved to Seattle at 24 with one suitcase and no safety net. By 27, I had founded Harbor Link, a nonprofit platform matching teens aging out of foster care with long-term mentors. By 30, Harbor Link was valued at over $50 million. On paper, I was successful. In reality, I still kept a spare trash bag in the back of my closet. My closest friend was Lena Park, a pediatric nurse I'd met freshman year. "If your dad ever calls," she once told me, "it won't be because he misses you, it'll be because he needs something." She was right. The call came on a Tuesday night. "Naomi, it's Dad." He said he had lymphoma, early stage. He said he'd changed. He said sorry 4 times in 2 minutes. Then he said, "Let's take a trip. Gulf Shores, just us. Camille wants to apologize too." I said no. Then I didn't sleep for 3 nights. On the 3rd night, I looked at a photo of me and Grandma on the porch swing. She was smiling at me like she knew something I didn't. I called him back. "I'll come for 3 days," I said. "I'm booking my own room." He agreed too quickly. 20 minutes later, I received a text from an unknown number. "Be careful." I deleted it. That was my first mistake. Gulf Shores was beautiful in a way that felt almost staged. White sand, blue sky, expensive resort. Dinner the first night was polite. Too polite. Camille asked what Harbor Link was worth. Dad asked about my liquidity. The next morning, Camille slid a folder across the breakfast table. Family Consolidated Trust Agreement. "I just need time to read it," I said. "It's a formality," Dad replied. That night, I heard them whispering outside my room. "She's suspicious," Camille said. "Then push softer," Dad answered. My phone buzzed. "Did they ask you to sign yet?" I didn't delete that one. I replied, "Who are you?" "Someone your grandmother trusted." The next morning, I photographed every page of the document and sent it to my attorney. "Do not sign anything," she said 2 hours later. "This gives them control over everything." Then the unknown number texted again. "Fly home, 6:10 a.m. flight. Don't tell them." At 4:30 a.m., I slipped out of the resort. No goodbye, no note, just a dark highway and a boarding pass. When I landed in Pittsburgh, the man in the charcoal suit was waiting. Judith Halpern stood beside him, and everything I thought I knew about my family shifted. Part 2. They led me into a private conference room near the airport offices. Beige walls, round table, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Judith Halpern sat across from me. 2 state police officers stood nearby. On the table were 3 things: a bound document, a thick folder of printed screenshots, and the sealed envelope I had kept for 14 years. "Naomi," Judith said gently, "your grandmother prepared for this." She explained that Grandma had revised her will in 2014. It named me as the sole beneficiary of her entire estate. House on Maplewood Drive, investment accounts, education trusts, total estimated value $3.1 million. The will had 2 conditions. I had to turn 32, and my father or sister had to attempt contact. She believed they would only come back for the money, Judith said quietly. Detective Morales slid the folder toward me. The screenshots were text messages. Camille to a contact named R. "She's here, room 614. If she won't sign, we move to alternate. Alternate costs more. Worth it." Another thread. "Camille, she's hesitating. Leonard, then handle it. Camille, if we escalate, you can't be tied to it. Leonard, do what you have to do." Detective Morales cleared his throat. The contact is Richard Hale, prior convictions for assault. He agreed to stage an accident. Balcony fall, drowning, something clean. My legs gave out. When I came back from the restroom, eyes swollen but spine straight, I asked, "What now?" Hale had already been arrested. Camille was taken into custody in Florida that afternoon. Leonard was arrested when he landed in Pittsburgh. The charges were severe: criminal solicitation, conspiracy to commit homicide. The trial drew media attention. Camille eventually accepted a plea deal, 10 years. Leonard received 12. When the judge asked if they wished to speak, Camille stood. "I just needed stability," she said. "You wouldn't share." Not "I'm sorry," just justification. Leonard said nothing. The gavel came down and that chapter ended. But the real story wasn't about prison, it was about preparation. Later, Judith showed me copies of 17 guardianship petitions my grandmother had filed over the years, trying to gain legal custody of me. 17 attempts, 17 denials. She never told me. She had also funded part of my college anonymously through an educational trust, quietly building a floor beneath me. I inherited the Maplewood house and turned it into a transitional home for young women aging out of foster care. We called it Evelyn House. The porch swing stayed, the green lamp stayed, everything else grew. The first resident asked me, "Does this last?" "As long as you need it," I told her. 1 year after the trial, Judith handed me a final letter from my grandmother. "If you are reading this, little bird, you survived them. Do not let anger be your inheritance. Let purpose be. Fill this house with people who choose you back. I chose you every day." I folded the letter and stepped back into the house filled with laughter and clattering dishes and imperfect healing. My father is in prison. My sister is in prison. I don't hate them, but I don't open my door to them either. Here's what I know now. You do not owe loyalty to people who weaponize blood. You do not owe forgiveness on someone else's timeline. And building a life they never planned for you is not revenge, it's survival. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you for listening. If this touched something in you, please subscribe to Fate and Truth Stories so you don't miss the next one. We share real journeys about resilience, justice, and the kind of love that shows up quietly but never leaves. And if you have your own story about setting boundaries or walking away to build something better, the comments are open. I'll see you in the next story.